Hello, we're just doing a very quick update on an issue that was a focal point of TABS when we kicked off in our first meeting back in January, and it's to bring you up to date on what is happening with regards to the Bartlett, which most of you will have known did receive consent for conversion from the Planning Committee a little while back. And what happened was that the Primary Care Trust instructed its estate agent, who bizarrely is located in Kings Lynn, to start marketing the Bartlett itself. It was only when the Star picked up that particular issue last week that many more people in the community were aware that it was up for sale at all. So what we've got here, and Mike has a copy of it, is all the details with regards to what the estate agent is offering for sale with regards to the Bartlett. So
I'll quickly show you the front page of the information, and I'll read you the opening comments from the bottom of the page. Now, this development is going to comprise of 31 residential units, that be the houses or flats, within a historic landmark building. The panoramic views fronting Felixstowe seafront, that's without doubt. You know, they just need to chop a few trees down and the views would be absolutely stunning.
You're never allowed to chop a tree, Michael, anymore.
Well, there you go. It says here also, and this is a particular comment that Mike is a little bit concerned about, it says no affordable housing allocation, which means that any of the people that are in need of housing within the town, there will be nothing here for them, basically, because also the S106 payments, which are the benefit payments
for the community,
there's going to be no one allowed who has those payments.
No. I mean, fundamentally, I think the Planning Committee who agreed to this really failed to support the local plan that normally requires this. And if we can get a copy of what the plans are showing, perhaps I can take the viewer through where this 31 residential units are likely to be. But what is very key in this is that when the original debate, and we'll come back to that in a bit, we'll return to that in a minute, but what we'll do is we'll get to the plan of the site, and what we have here is the original 1924 site plan, and down here you can see on the left hand side where the finger is, if Sarah can get that far, well done. This is actually the Old Bath Hotel or the Bartlett Annex, in which it's proposed that they will pretty much demolish something like 7/8, 5/6 of it, and in its stead they will create or build a number of two-bedded flats that in total are 10, and on the side, having demolished most of that, they're proposing to build 3 townhouses of 4 beds each. So the annex will actually provide 9 residential units. That's in that site there. If we then move on to the main building, which is actually up here, I don't know, this is the main building, that's the footprint of the ground floor, and then you have this front section as another for the second floor, or the first floor. The whole of the main building is primarily going to provide yet another lot of 2-bedroom flats, assuming it ever happens at all. And what a recent housing needs study showed in our community, that the main over-provision we actually have is in 2-bedded flats. What we really need are many more family homes, 3-bedded, etc., which is what the affordable housing delivery, if we held them to what they should provide, would be currently provided. And if we have a look down into the Martello itself, I don't know if Sarah can get into this area, but this is a bit like Hobbit homes, and here supposedly they're going to convert that to provide 2 3-bedded units. with no outlook other than the moat. Apparently they compare it to some of the housing that you have in Brighton and Eastbourne, whereby they live sort of below street level. Not something that I would personally like. If Sarah could, well, I'll come to her. If she can look at, if you look at all the yellows, they're the 2-bedded units. And as you can see, the majority are 2-bedded units. What may amaze you, it's certainly amazed us, if Mike goes into the document a bit further, he will see what the asking price, minimum asking price is.
Okay, I've got that here. But it says here the guide price, right?
Yeah.
The freehold residential development site is available for sale by private treaty.
Yeah.
And a guide price of offers in excess of,
Yeah.
and I'll put in this word, only £600,000.
I know. It's unbelievable,
That's
isn't it?
one heck of a lot of land and building for £600,000.
It is. I mean, what I did in between, I did a quick calculation of how many beds there will be in these 31 units. There are 75 beds.
Yeah.
So on that basis, a single bed would be costing you the site cost of 17,500. So a 2-bedded unit would cost you about 35,000 in land costs, which is unbelievably cheap.
It won't actually go for that price.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. One would assume, but this is being really delivered as a fire sale, isn't it?
Yeah.
There isn't a single an appointed local agent, so local people aren't a part of the debate. In fact, many people aren't really aware that it's currently up for sale. No. Now, closing bids for this very valuable property is on this coming Friday. I believe that's the 25th, is it? At 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
So if any of you currently live in a house that's slightly worth more than 600,000, and many of you do, then this may be your lifelong opportunity to get the bargain of the century. Let me just show you something which is a piece of presentation that I've kept for years. It's called A Fresher Future for Felixstowe, and isn't that a wonderful, trips off your tongue?
Yeah, okay,
you think, how bloody wonderful. Now this is what supposedly your health PCT, the very first one, which was exclusively for Suffolk Coastal, came forward with. And what they told us they would be doing was to provide us with 75 units, 75 beds, primarily in the Bartlett, retaining our general hospital for day clinics and surgical operations, so that within our town, within our community, we would have all the medical care we could possibly want. The reality, after a decade, is we are now only have within the whole of the town, and it's sadly not for the use of the town, a 16-bedded unit. The Bartlett, and if we could cut to that wonderful display of what this site and building has to offer, perhaps Sarah, you could go into the moat first, the bottom of the Martello, and that, by its structure and the architect, Munro Courtney, actually carries the whole of the ground floor and the floor above it. So that is a unique, the only building of its type in the world, and that gave wonderful service to all of those who were being discharged from Ipswich District Hospital who actually needed rehabilitation care, better food, superb location to recover at.
Yeah.
And I feel particularly aggrieved that a bureaucracy entrusted in looking after our health is offering this in a fire sale to anybody to come along and really screw, if that's an appropriate term, or fail to do honour to Dr. Bartlett, whose complete estate was used to provide this facility for what is now, I understand, something like 400,000 people who are living in East Suffolk. And it's an appalling situation.
Well, since Dr. Bartlett bequeathed that to the town...
Yes. No, he didn't. I think this is one of the very sad situations we've had, and the media generally keeps talking about the Bartlett is the town. It was never the town's. The Bartlett is for the people who are discharged from Ipswich District Hospital. It's a community of 400,000, not just the 30,000 that live on the peninsula.
Right.
And that point has failed to be made, probably purposely, by the PCT, because they didn't want a wider community to actually fight, to have it retained, to help our district hospital function better. And one of the reasons currently that it is in such a dire state and has lost so many services is that it finds it very difficult to place patients for their rehabilitation outside of their own ward. So therefore they have a major bed crisis.
It's had several owners though, hasn't it, or several governing bodies since it belonged to Dr. Bartlett.
Well, yes. Sadly, the worst that we've ever had was when the Primary Care Trust ceased being East Suffolk Primary Care Trust and became for the whole of Suffolk.
Yeah.
So basically what you've had is decisions being made by a board which often, though they may appear to benefit the whole of Suffolk, they often disadvantage those who live in the East. And if we look at the services that have been removed from Ipswich and transferred to Norwich or to Cambridge or to Basildon or to London, often those who live in West Suffolk, for them that's actually advantageous because they can get to those as equally as easy as they can get to Ipswich. Whereas for us on the East Coast, in the back end of nowhere, you've got to go past a hospital that could have delivered that service and go on to another. And you're looking at, you know, as we know, the A14 is the single only road of any quality coming in into the coastal region. So
over the transition over the years there, obviously Mr. Bartlett's estate, Dr. Bartlett, his estate is being used.
Oh yes, they've had unbelievable benefit. Well, we don't know because, as you're aware, we tried for many years to find out what happened to the considerable investment trust that was a part, if we could look at that wonderful structure again. This came with a sum of investments that was actually at the time of transfer worth more than what the whole of the site was.
Yeah.
So if you like, that would have been more than enough to have maintained this properly up to now and beyond, because the court ruled that was to be used, the money was to be used in perpetuity to maintain this building, to deliver the service that the District Hospital at Ipswich required. And what we can say is, since the NHS, if you like, stole it, purloined it, acquired it in 1947, their investment in this building has been pretty much zero.
Absolutely, right.
And then they can, having done no investment, sort of 60 years later, they can sort of stand up and say, well, this really isn't fit for purpose.
Yeah.
Well, the reason for that is those who've been responsible for looking after it and keeping it up to date. Yeah. Because there was certainly funding to ensure that it did stay up to date for all that period of time.
Right, okay.
So really, it's folks out there who have any interest or have over 600,000 quid who would like to rush and get a bid into the PC headquarters at Ipswich. You've got until Friday lunchtime to do it, which is why we've done this very quick programme today. And the details are there, Mike, so perhaps we can put those up at the end of the programme as to who it needs to go to.
Okay, well, it says here the method of sale,
If you look at the back page, just a quick one, the document needs to be sent to I think it's Marshall.
Yeah, let's have a look. Mr. Mark Marshall. And that's the NHS Suffolk, Rushbrook House, Paper Mill Lane at Bromford, Ipswich, Suffolk. And the postcode is IP8 4DE.
And the good news about that building is there is no letterbox.
No.
So it can only be delivered when the reception is manned or womaned or personed.
Yeah.
So
Or slide it under the door.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you this guy here, I think that's his website, and it's probable that if you want to get a copy of this, you could probably access it there. But what might be very useful, Michael, would be to add that detail sheet by sheet onto this program.
Yeah, well, we
could do that, couldn't we?
Yeah, we could possibly do that. But if you want the information on the people, it's Mr. David Boshier of Boshier and Company, and his email is davidboshier, and that's BOSHIER @boshier.com. And if you need further information, the telephone number is 01485 600 441. Okay, Mike, well, that's summed it up.
Well, that's a quick update.
It is.
And hopefully that's enough, and Sarah's still with us.
Yeah.
And Sophie's functioning in there like a good one.
Yeah. It's basically going to be, there's no way out of it now, it's going to be residential.
Well, no, I'm not so sure. I think that even at this late stage, what is very evident if you read through that is that the PCT are insisting on an overage arrangement with the builder, etc., and talking to our estate agents here in Felixstowe, what most of them would advise anybody who's got planning consent and all the rest, the only way to do it properly, fairly, transparently would be to go to public auction. And then we would all know who, what and how much. And what is sad about the bureaucracy is that it may well be well intentioned, but it seems to be inept. And with regards to the Bartlett, they've been inept ever since 2006. And this is yet another example of how to do things badly. But what is really, really sad, isn't it? The PCT itself will be wrapped up next year, April of next year, and its final gift to our community is to actually, this building, this site, will actually not deliver the clinical need that the man who gifted it to our community intended. And I think that is a failure both to the community and to Dr. Bartlett himself.
All right, thanks for coming along and updating us on that.
And there are more issues, sadly, flooding our screens. Well, from the Academy to Tesco to the South Sea front.
I'm sure there will be shortly.
Indeed.
But so we'll keep an eye on the Bartlett. We hope somebody will put in an offer by Friday.
Yeah.
And
we'll see what happens.
Well, thank you very much, Mike.
Okay.
Thank you for watching.
Okay, viewer. Thank you.